On the 19th of December 1887, a single track of railway line that curved its way from Hawthorn to Kew was officially opened to the public. Running in cuttings, round sharp curves and up steep gradients, the line was criticised by the people of Kew for being indirect and dangerous. Skip forward to the 18th of August 1952, and after years of decline, the last train pulls out of Kew station. 5 years later, on the 13th of May 1957, the line is officially closed, and only 12 months after that, tracks are ripped up, cuttings filled in, and stations demolished. Let's look at the history of the line, what remains of it today, and ultimately, why it failed. Take a look at a satellite image of Kew, and you will see a fishhook-shaped line cutting through the streets, consisting of parkland, car parks, private roads, and office buildings, is the old alignment of the failed Kew railway line. The idea of a railway to Kew was first raised by the Kew Railway League, who recommended a route branching off from the Lilydale line before Hawthorn Station. They suggested the line followed Church Street through old brickfields, making an easy curve around to Kew. This route would require a tunnel under Burwood Road, however no cuttings would be needed. The Victorian Railways acted upon this idea and awarded Noonan Brothers contractors £18,000 to construct the line. The route chosen by the Victorian Railways and what was recommended by the League differed. Instead of traversing across to Kew, the route that was constructed branched straight upwards, branching off from the Lilydale line approximately halfway between Hawthorn and Glenferrie. It had two stations, Barker, originally called Barker's Road, and the terminus at Kew. The train line became a selling point for numerous housing estates around the area, many of which backed onto the railway. The first train to Kew ran from Princess Bridge at 5:40 in the morning, with no formal celebrations being taken. The train was greeted at Kew by a signalman, ticket seller, and the station master. Steam trains provided shuttles between Hawthorn and Kew at a 20 to 25 minute frequency, and in the peak, services were run through to the city. In 1907, safety improvements were made on the junction, decreasing the risk of accidents. In December 1922, work to electrify the line commenced, providing services between Kew and the city at a 20-minute frequency all day. Decline began in November 1930, when off-peak services to the city were withdrawn. A single swing-door train was used for a shuttle service in the off-peak. In 1937, services in the evening peak from the city to Kew ceased, meaning customers would have to change trains at Hawthorn. By 1939, trains in the off-peak were cut altogether, being replaced by a bus service. On the 18th of August 1952, the last regular passenger train ran the line, marking the end of its 65-year service to the people of Kew. So why was the Kew line unsuccessful, and what resulted in its closure after only 6 decades of use? There are several factors as to why this occurred. As a starting point, the way the line was designed had a significant effect. The route was indirect, with a sharp curve and a steep gradient, and both stations were placed in remote locations. For example, the terminus fell 300 metres short of the main business district of Kew. As well as this, several extensions to the line were planned but never built. These included a line to Doncaster planned in 1890, which would have seen the Kew line extended over the Outer Circle line and continue through to Doncaster and Warrandyte, with a branch to Templestowe. In 1897, more trials were conducted to plan lines to Templestowe, Doncaster, Warrandyte and Hillsville. Plans to extend the Kew line to Doncaster continued into the 30s, however no action was taken. The station at Kew was also located in a cutting, meaning to extend the line would be very costly. However, if these extensions occurred, the Kew line would most likely still be operational. And finally, nearby tram lines provided more direct access into the city and ran straight into Kew, providing competition for the isolated rail line. For most of the line's life, customers had to change at Hawthorn, which people found inconvenient and time-consuming. As the tram network developed, it provided a better, more consistent, direct and reliable service to the people of Kew, and continues to do so to this day. Although dismantled, the Kew line can still be traced today. Let's take a look at what still remains of the old line. Its junction from the Lilydale line was located in between Grace Park Tennis Club and Glenferrie Oval. It ran parallel to Hilda Crescent in what is now a series of car parks, where it ran underneath Linda and Christobel Crescents. The section of the line from Christobel Crescent to Hawthorn Grove is now taken up by the L.E. Bray Linear Reserve. The park is made up of lots of native plants, a walking trail and a playground, where there is even a little steam train giving a nod towards the past. The section of the line from the junction up to Hawthorn Grove ran in a cutting, with all roads it crossed having bridges over the track. All of these were left in place when the cutting was filled in, and because of this, the sections of road that cross the old line are a lot flatter compared to the rest of the street. The cutting then levelled out and the line crossed Hawthorn Grove at street level. During the 1940s, the gates here were closed permanently when trains were running. At other times, the station staff would manually open and close the gates. After crossing Hawthorn Grove, the line reached its first station, Barker. The single platform at Barker was located to the west of the track. It had a brick station building which was demolished with the line. A motel was built where the station was located but has since been demolished, leaving an empty block of land. The line then crossed Barker's Road and ran in a cutting towards Kew. This section of the line is taken up by a private road owned by Xavier College, and the site of Kew Station is currently occupied by Vic Roads offices. What looks to be part of the old cutting, now used as an employee car park, is found here, although I can't be too sure if this is actually part of the old railway alignment. A single platform located to the west of the line was also found at Kew, with several sidings located at the station. Both stations were beautiful buildings, which were unfortunately demolished when the line was dismantled. So, will rail ever return to Kew? Although a line on the original alignment is very unlikely, stations at Kew on a rail line to Doncaster running along the Eastern Freeway have been considered before, as well as stations at Kew as part of the Melbourne Metro 3 proposal. But for now, the old line continues to serve as offices, car parks, playgrounds and walking trails, still being enjoyed and utilised by the people of Kew, as I'm sure it will be well into the future.